Okay, so let's get into measurement for this one. So for measurement, essentially we want to be able to read, mark, and cut off of our tape measure accurately. And so I think the best way to talk about measurement is to take 1 inch on this tape measure, so let's just say between 2 and 3 or between 0 and 1, and let's look at what all those little lines actually truly represent. You'll see that they're at different heights, and since they're at different heights, it actually gives us a clue as to what that marking is meant to be. And so we're going to go through a simulation here on a piece of paper, and we're just going to think about this edge of the paper representing where 0 is, and this edge of the paper representing where 1 whole part is, so let's say 1 inch. All right, so now if we take this piece of paper and we fold it in half, and this would be the hamburger way, fold that in half and then open that up, that crease that we made is exactly halfway. And so right here, that line is 1/2. So let's fold that in half again, and let's divide that in half one more time. Every time we fold it, we're dividing by 2. So now when we open that up and open that up, we see we divided this 1/2 into half and into half on both sides. And so this line here then becomes 1/4, and this line here becomes 3/4, and this line here becomes 2/4. So we've gone, if we were an ant crawling across this page and we got to this marking, we've gone 1 out of the 1, 2, 3, 4 parts of the way over. If we were an ant crawling from 0 and we got to here, we've gone 1, 2. 2 out of the 4 parts of the way over the page, or we could say 1/2. And if we were an ant crawling across the page and we got to here, we've gone 1, 2, 3 segments out of the 4 segments total. If we get to 1, we've gone 4/4, or 2 out of 2 out of the way over. So once again, we can divide everything in half again. If we fold it to half, we fold it to fourths, and then we fold it one more time. Now, if it's confusing on how we're getting to this denominator, right? We have a numerator over a denominator, right? When we talk about a fraction. So when we're talking about 1/2, the numerator is 1, the denominator is 2. When we talk about, let's say, 2/4, which is the same thing as 1/2, right? What we've done here is we've multiplied both by 2, okay, to get the 2/4. Now, if I take 1/2 of 1/2, what I would do is just multiply across, and now I have 1/4. So what we're about to do is take 1/2 of 1/4. So here's 1/4, and we're going to multiply that by 1/2, and this 1/2 is from when we fold it, right? That's like the action of us folding it. And that's going to give us 1, and then 2 times 4 is going to give us 8. So we're going to get to eighths here when we fold this in half. So I'm going to fold this in half one more time as best I can. It gets harder the more you fold. And then we're going to open that up. And so now we can see that we've divided fourths into eighths. So once again, imagine yourself as an ant. I know, not always that fun to imagine yourself as an ant. The world is probably pretty tough being that small. But I've gone 1 out of the 8 segments. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 segments are on this page. If I've gone to 1/4, I've gone 2 out of the 8. If I've gone to this line, I'm now at 3 out of the 8. If I've gone to this line, it's 4 out of the 8. This is 5/8. This is 6/8. And then this is 7/8. Gotta draw the line, hold on. And then that would be 8/8 at the end. So now you can start to see how this lays out. And then in between that is 16ths. So I'm just gonna eyeball halfway in between eighths. But if we folded that paper again, you would see that we were at eighths before. We're gonna multiply it by a 1/2, which represents our fold again. And then that's gonna get us to 1, 2 times 8 is 16. So that would be 16ths. And so these little lines represent 16ths. I'm not going to write the number on there because that would make this paper look a little bit crowded. And so you see the same thing actually happen on a tape measure. Because they don't want to make it look crowded, what they do is they just give you the number to the whole inch. And then what they do is they give you these markings, and the longest marking represents this longest part here. You can think of the longest marking representing halves, 2/4, or 4/8, right? But when we talk about the tape measure, we always give it in the reduced form. So that's always going to be an odd number over an even number. So for example, if I'm talking about an eighth line, which is right here, right? For example, that would be 4 1/8. I wouldn't say 2/16. Right? That just makes it more confusing, because then the person I'm telling that to has to then reduce 2/16 to 1/8. So out of courtesy and out of professional practice, we always give the number in its lowest reduced form, because it's easiest to find then on the tape measure. A trick that a lot of people do is they first memorize where the half line is. Once you know where the half line is, you know the line in between that whole number and the half is 1/4, which is the next longest line. And then once you remember where the fourths are, so let's say I know where half lines are and I know where quarter lines are, then what I can do is go, okay, well then the next longest line in between those two that I've memorized are the eighth lines.